For more now, we're very pleased to be joined by my old colleague on Capitol Hill, Congressman Peter King of New York. He joins us via telephone from Long Island, and we note that Pete used to serve as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. He also serves on the House Select Committee on Intelligence. Pete, we appreciate your time. And first, let's gather your political sense from last night's Al Smith dinner. You weren't there personally, but I understand you saw enough to think both candidates crossed the line.
Yeah, I have been to at dinner a number of times in the past. I watched it entirely on television last night from beginning to end. Yeah, I think Donald Trump, the mistake he made is, for whatever reason, over the years, the humor has never crossed a certain line. I thought when he basically came out and said Hillary Clinton is corrupt, that really wasn't funny. Listen, that was legitimate to say in a political debate, but not at a Catholic charity event with the cardinal sitting there and with the whole tradition of not getting personal. That was really the only time he really went over. Some of the others were close to the line. Now, Hillary Clinton came close to going over the line, but what a lot of people were offended by, certainly by the Catholics, is when near the end when she started quoting at length Pope Francis as if she was on the same side as Pope Francis, and yet just the night before, she had forcefully, or 2 nights before, she had forcefully defended partial birth abortion, one of the most horrible methods of abortion that there is. And so you have Pope Francis, who is strongly opposed to abortion. You have Hillary Clinton the night before defending the most horrific type of abortion, and at a Catholic dinner somehow trying to wrap herself in the mantle of Pope Francis. So that offended a number of people.
But let me get back,
being exploited.
Pete, let me get back to the situation. Trump, it may have been somewhat inelegant, but he pointed out the huge discrepancy, those WikiLeaks emails where members of her staff said things that can only be considered anti-Catholic. Even Cardinal Dolan in earlier days had said she ought to apologize. Was it wrong for Donald Trump to bring up the discrepancy between her appearance last night and the demeanor of her staff in days earlier?
No, that was totally legitimate. I think rather than saying that she's trying to prove she doesn't hate Catholics, he maybe could have said she's trying to prove she likes Catholics. But in any event, no, I have no problem with him bringing that up. I was talking more about a remark he made before. He said she was thrown off the Watergate commission or the investigating committee investigating Watergate because she was corrupt, and it just didn't seem to fit into anything else. No, I thought it was very appropriate for him to bring up the fact that her staff was mocking in really the worst ways the Catholic Church, the Catholic hierarchy, and here she is sitting with Cardinal Dolan, who is a member of that hierarchy that they feel is so evil, so out of touch, or so dangerous. No, I think it was very legitimate for him to bring that up, and it was wrong for her, even if she wanted to do it in a humorous way or something, to somehow last night apologize for what her staff had said. I guarantee you, if that had been any other religion, if it had been gays, if it had been African Americans, if it had been Muslims, that her staff had made some remark about, first of all, they would have been fired by now, but to have appeared then at the biggest event that group throws, as she did last night with the Catholic Church, and not even anyway apologize or comment or refer to it, was very, very offensive.
Let me turn to another subject that warrants our attention. It is in your bailiwick with the House Intelligence Committee, and that is namely a flotilla of Russian warships passing through the English Channel en route to Syria. One Russian newspaper this week describing those ships as an armada. Former CIA analyst Fred Fleitz was on Newsmax TV earlier today. Let's listen to his assessment,
Sure.
and I want to get your reaction.
Putin wants to reclaim some of the glory of the former Soviet Union. He's establishing naval bases around the world, and this is just an example of what he's doing, to say that Russia is back. It is a global power. It has global reach. And frankly, Russia's going to do whatever it wants to do. It doesn't care about our policy on Syria.
So, Pete, what do you believe Putin is trying to prove here?
Well, he's definitely trying to reestablish as much of the Russian Empire, if not the Soviet Empire, as he can. I am totally distrusting of Putin. I have no doubt, and his right to disagree with Donald Trump. I have no doubt that He is trying to interfere in the American election. I don't think necessarily to defeat Hillary Clinton. He just wants to show that he can disrupt what we do here in this country. And I think it's important for us. We have to take some sort of retaliatory action, whether it involves disclosing his own financial dealings, getting that out to the world. Certainly we should be talking more about sanctions, and we should be strictly enforcing any right of the seas, anywhere where he infringes. We have to stop him, make it clear that it's not going to be allowed. I'm not exactly certain if they violated English territorial waters. If they did, they should have been stopped. I mean, the British and the Americans and other countries cannot allow Russia to be doing anything that violates international law as far as they're concerned.
Meantime, in Iraq, Pete, the battle for Mosul is underway, and there are tragic reports that the first American serviceman involved in this action was killed there. What's your take on the current situation there in Iraq?
Well, obviously, I think all Americans should be hoping and supporting, hoping for victory, and hope it comes as soon as possible with a minimum loss of life, certainly by Americans and also by our allies. It's really disgraceful, though, that it's been now over 2 years that the ISIS has been in there, that they're allowed to emerge in the first place, and the president in many ways has been half-hearted in what he's done to remove them. This battle is not going to be easy, but it is important that it succeed. I hope it succeeds, and it's going to be tough fighting. They've had 2 years, more than 2 years, to dig in there, and just at a very rudimentary level, how booby-trapped it must be. Also, the other thing, which Donald Trump pointed out the other night, is that all of the top leaders have left Mosul. If we had done it, if we could have not tipped our hand and give so much of a warning months in advance of what we were going to do with Mosul, then maybe we would have had the element of surprise. We certainly gave that up.
Congressman Peter King, we appreciate your time tonight on Newsmax Prime.
JD, anytime. Thank you.
Later tonight, Ed Berliner with an interesting perspective on those WikiLeaks leaks. Will any October surprise work short of graphic video of someone caught in some action? And up next, not so much action, but reaction. Our political panel with a great discussion. Amy Kramer and Barrett Holmes-Pittner as Newsmax Prime continues on this busy Friday evening.